Okay, guys, I'm starting a live stream so you can pull it up on YouTube. I'm gonna help a student, and then we'll get started. So in the meantime, go to YouTube. Yeah, type in .org games, and the way to find the live now, by the way, is to go to the account and then click on Uploads. It's always the first one if you click on Uploads. Oh, you don't want it there. So you just need to flatten what's happening. It's something you're rolling out. So made it flatter. Oh, I thought. Any other like miscellaneous questions that I can help with you guys once we get started? Yeah. So over here. Right here. There's nothing there. But is there something there? Oh, so if they escape, I think what's going to happen is to solve that. So your map continues is don't do that now because it takes like 5-10 minutes just to go. But that also can tell the lighting because the lighting doesn't change all at once. You have to change. Oh, okay. Yeah. See, try scaling it, like try dragging, and you can't do scale to X and Y. Yeah, you're right. It's not, oh, now it's right. But it didn't update it here. Oh, yeah, there it is. You can always enter Hey, that's Christian right there. That's Christian. Hey, Christian. You found your my what? Wait, when he says to Infinity and your mom. Okay. Is this green? Any other questions over here? Oh, there we go. Where's that? Where'd you go?
Should not be allowed to have it. Portuguese should not be allowed to
Dog
have
works.
it.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's fair.
And then you just
Not at the podcast.
Are you on fair?
I'll go.
Oh god.
You know. Everyone help Mr. Mister.
Yeah.
One question. Everyone help Mr. Torres by subscribing to his YouTube channel.
Yeah? Yeah.
My YouTube channel is
It is less. Oh.
what? Yes. Yes. No. Why would I do this?
Hey, why you have one tweet T-phone?
I know. It's
Too big.
genius. I don't know how to
Tara King. Fuck. Rip stamp. Oh. Oh. How do you? There's only 10 people watching. And Mr. Wait, what do you want? What do you want? These are the folders. What? Colors? Okay, yeah. So you can hit right click and rename. Oh, you hit again. Right click.
I was trying to go for
What?
I was trying to go
Try
for
double clicking
the
it.
lake, and I created the inky blackness of the void.
Make sure you're only left clicking to rename. So you right click to open it. Now you're gonna left click.
I tried my deals.
Oh, you know what could be because things are weird if they're not normal. Click here.
I just wanted to make it.
Now you're normal mode. Now it's right.
And I created a black hole in the
I don't know. On Windows, you can hit F2, but you guys don't have those. So you don't have that on this keyboard. But I would leave it. I would leave it named as materials. Just use the materials.
Too much rock. Why is there too much rock?
Oh, question?
I see the
Make it look like a little batch. And I appeared to make it look too much. Come on.
It might just be more lighting on it. So, because your scene is very dark, so it might just be looking dark. Also, you have no material on the lake. It's like, oh, you do. You have water material. So part of it is the water material is so stretched. I'll show you guys how to make a lake at some point. Maybe I'll do it today. It's like a bonus lesson. So anyway, guys, let's start. So you're following along on YouTube, so you can see my screen. Today we're going to make destructible meshes. Okay, that's right. Today we're going to make destructible meshes. What are destructible meshes? Well, you've seen this in pretty much every game, every major AAA game. If you play like Battlefield or something, you take cover and then they're shooting at you. And your cover starts to break apart. You know, you're behind some cinder block wall and starts to fall apart. And then if you stay long enough or some tank comes by and blows it up, and there's nothing to stand behind, there's no cover. How does that work? Well, that's a system called destructible meshes. Unreal is a system for making destructible meshes built in. Remember, what's a mesh? Mesh is a 3D object, right? We usually are using static meshes, right? So those are meshes that don't change. Our stairs in our third-person example map, that sort of thing. Those are static meshes. Today, I'm going to show you how to take a static mesh and make basically what's a copy, but it's a destructible version of that mesh. And then how to damage it and how to have something that starts out where it's one thing and then it falls apart and crumbles, and you can change all the different settings on that. So we're going to start right here in the front of Unreal. We're all in our horror game project. This is just a third-person project. And what you want to do is we're going to be doing making our destructible mesh in the content browser, right? That's the bottom panel. That's where all new things are made, new files, things like that. Now what's cool is you can make a destructible mesh out of literally anything. So for our example today, we're just going to start with the stairs in our scene. So you have these stairs probably still. And what I want you to do is just click on the stairs in the viewport itself. And I'm going to show you how to get to to get to the static mesh file just from the viewport. So and this is how that works. When you click the stairs, in the details panel, you can see it has this thing, a static mesh, and it shows a stair mesh. And it's called like linear stair static mesh, whatever, right? There is a magnifying glass icon right underneath that. Click that magnifying glass icon, and it's going to take you to that stair mesh in your content browser. It's a really, really convenient tool for navigating your world. You don't have a stair?
There's no
The magnifying, there is. If you click on the object in the details panel, it should be under the name static mesh. It's in the static mesh part. You see it?
Yeah, Venus stairs.
Yeah, there's a little tiny magnifying glass looking thing. Yeah, question over there? Oh, you lost your details panel? All right.
It's not info.
So when you lose a window, what I want you to do is hit window, on the left, yep. And then hover over details, and then choose details 1. Yeah, that's it. Yep. Guys, alternatively, you can just search your content browser, STAR, S-T-A-R, and then this will come out. That's geometry, so that's not a static mesh, so that won't work for this. So you don't want that stair, you want a normal stair. So hit basic here, and let's see. If you don't have your stair, you can do a cube. Okay, so we'll do it. So for those of you who don't have stairs, you can do a cube. And you want to be in this mode for now. So drag the cube out. Okay. See the magnifying glass? Or actually, that's a material. So scroll up. See the cube and the magnifying glass. Okay. All right, moving on. So everybody has in their content browser down here. You can see your mesh. Now, some of you have cubes because you deleted your stair. That's fine too. It works the same way. This system works for any static mesh. We're doing for everyone else. We're doing stairs, and you can see the stair file in your content browser. All you got to do is right-click on it, right-click on that stair or that cube, and at the very somewhere near the top, you're going to get, it's going to say create destructible mesh. Now, right now, I have to enable that for this project. So, yep, hit create destructible mesh. So right-click, create destructible mesh. I'm just restarting my project because I had to put the plug in. The older versions of Unreal have the destructible system in there by default, and the new ones you have to enable it. Yeah. Oh, it's right here. Right-click on the stair. You're right-clicking in the content browser, so not in the world, in the content browser. So, yeah. Yeah, he's got it. Right-click in the content browser. It's a weird saving thing. I don't know. So I would be careful. Maybe you can't save your project unless you like exit out and start it again. But don't just follow along for now, so you know to do it. And then just be mindful that for the rest of the lap time, you might want to restart before you start doing some real things in your world. Right click, yeah, on object in the content browser. Create a circle mesh. It's at the very top. So this is their normal mesh. You don't want this. So go to the front, same here, go to the front. You want to right click and create a circle mesh. Right click, you got to right click in the content browser. Create a circle mesh. Yeah, that's normal mesh. You want to right click there, create a destructible mesh. You're good. Okay. So you guys want to click this and get back to the normal mode. Okay. And you have a view of stairs, so click on your stair now. Now that you're in normal mode, you can see its details. Click on that magnifying glass. Okay, that's just going to take you to where it is in the content browser. You can search for it too. Either way works. It's actually doing it. Right click on the stair, and at the very top says create destructible mesh. Click that. You get a new window that comes up. So just right click on that. Create destructible mesh. Cool. Cool. Okay, most of you are there. I've got my editor back up. So I'm going to do this. So I found my stair. I'm right-clicking, create destructible mesh. I'm going to make this a big window on mine so I can see it. And what you're going to have is you have this kind of dark preview window on the left, and then you have these settings on the right. And this is the system for making destructible meshes. It's not that complicated, actually. You know, we did materials yesterday, and that's for our day before. That's more complicated than even this. So all you're going to do is in the upper left, there's a button that says Fracture Mesh. Click Fracture Mesh. Upper left. Isn't it awesome? Now, once you've done that, there's a slider also on the top there called Explode Amount. Go ahead and drag that, and you can preview what it would look like going from a whole piece to as it breaks apart. Yeah, really, really cool.
Mister, did you ever watch the mom?
I did.
So, I thought this would be like
Right?
I don't actually know.
So what do you? So just a little word on how this works. In the bottom here, in fracture settings, there's something called cell site count. By default, it says mine's 25. By default, I don't know what yours is, but that's how many fractures there'll be. You can increase this number if you want more fractures. Just be careful because you could lag your game or crash your game if you go crazy with that. And then lower numbers will be less. So if you only want the stair or whatever, the cube to break into 5 pieces, you change it to 5 instead of 25. One thing I do need you to do so that our thing can break in the world is in the destructible settings on the right here. It's about 3 settings down, I think. I want you to click Enable Impact Damage. So click the Enable Impact Damage. It's a check mark. You want to check it.
Enable what?
Enable impact damage.
Yep, that's right.
You gotta check
Yeah, just make sure it's check marked.
it.
That means that this object will break apart if it impacts in like a physics simulation, right? And so you have all these different settings here. These settings we might come back and modify because things like you have damage threshold, damage spread, impact damage. What all these things do is these are determining how weak or strong your object is. So does it just shatter like glass if it just like barely gets hit? Or does it have some strength like concrete and stuff? And so, okay, I'm still talking. So if you want it to break apart, but more slowly and have to take a lot of damage, you would increase or decrease those 3 settings: damage threshold, damage spread, impact damage. Was there a question over there? Okay. So that's that. I would leave this tab up so we can come back to it and change it, but just go ahead and save, and then go to the front of Unreal.
Mister,
Yeah.
how do you make it so it doesn't
No, I was waiting.
Guys, where's attendance, by the way? Right here? Is that it for attendance?
I will do.
So just don't worry, just keep following the lesson. If it's not going to save, then I want you to follow along anyway. I would just say when you're breaking a lab time, exit out of your project and then restart so that you don't do anything that you're going to not being able to save.
Yeah, okay. Happening. I will break this by ramming my face. I will break it. I can't break this.
So moving on, guys. So, by the way, we're going to have 2 guest teachers from O'Callahan come in today. They're going to be here in probably 10 minutes, 15 minutes. So we'll have some teachers coming in to watch a lesson, and we might do some Unreal. They're also game magnet teacher people, and so that'll be happening. So be in your best behavior, right? Okay, so in your content browser here, the bottom, you have a new mesh. It's got a little red color underneath it instead of a blue color like normal meshes. Okay, it should say the exact same name as your stair mesh or your cube mesh, depending on what you're using, except it has the letters DM at the end of it, right? For destructible mesh. So what you can do, no, you're not deleting anything. What you want to do is drag out the destructible mesh into your world, like so. So drag it out from the content browser into your world.
Wait, what?
Just drag your destructible mesh from the content browser. It's the one that has a DM at the end of it for destructible mesh. No, don't delete anything. Now we have two identical meshes, right? I have this one called stair, so you can see it on my screen here. I have one on the left, that's the static mesh, and I have the one that can break on the right, that's the destructible mesh. But we just want the destructible mesh for now. And what I want you to do is I want you to. It's not gonna break yet, most likely. What we're gonna do is we're gonna. Okay, good. So maybe it is breaking for some of you. An easy way to test this, though, to test any destructible mesh, is bring it up a little bit so it's floating in the sky, and we're going to make it fall. We're going to make it fall due to gravity, and when it hits the ground, it's going to shatter. Now, if you drag it up and hit play, it's not going to fall by default. It's going to stay floating. That's because there's one setting we have to set. We have to set simulate physics, and that's real easy. Just make sure you have the, hold on, I'm talking. Make sure you have the stair selected, and in the detail panels, scroll down and find the physics section. It's the first option. It says simulate physics. And you hit the check mark. And now, when you hit play, the stair is going to fall. And so mine barely broke. It cracked, though. So to make that to actually shatter and fall apart, you can drop it from a higher distance. Or, like I said, go back to your destructible mesh editor and increase this impact damage, and increase this damage spread, and decrease this damage threshold. By doing that, you can make it weaker or stronger. What's that?
How do we make a cube or the stairs fall?
So I just explained that, so I'll repeat that. What it is you select, go to the front of Unreal. Guys, if it's floating and it's not falling, go to the front of Unreal. Make sure you have it selected. And in the details panel, there's a physics section. You want to make sure that simulate physics is checked. And then it will fall.
You want to watch this?
Oh, yours bounced. That's weird.
Wait, no, that's what we got last time. Hold on.
So,
Why is it bouncing?
you have this physics area, right? If you don't like the bouncing, you don't like that stuff, you want to change these settings, mess with these settings. Let's say linear damping, angular damping. I think there's a mass setting for like weight. Yeah, mass scale. Things like that. And like I said, make it weaker. Go to the destructible mesh editor, and all you got to do is change these settings and then hit save, and then it'll be updated.
I wanted to fall on my character. He died.
So if you hover over these damage settings in the destructible mesh, it'll tell you what each setting does.
Whoa!
So one thing that I did with my character is or my destructible mesh, I increased the impact damage number to a really high number. I increased it from like 1 to 10, and that makes it break better. So if you increase impact damage higher, it'll break much better. By the way, there's nothing stopping you from making multiple copies of this destructible mesh. So I'm going to make a couple copies of it. I'll make another one really high, and you can scale it too. So I'll make a really large stair, and so when it falls, it'll break into these humongous chunks. And I'll make even a fourth one, and I'll make that even higher. So this is going to be very interesting when I hit play. Here it goes.
Wow. There's a spark in there. There's a character running down there.
So I think that blocked the character, actually, because that's where the enemy's coming from. So how cool would it be to have a mechanic in your game where if he's being chased by your enemy, by the slender guy, whatever your enemy is, and the player can turn on something or break something and cause a bunch of destructible meshes to fall and then block the enemy's path, right? I just accidentally made that into the game. So.
I need to add like.
Yeah, question? You can look for anything that you lose in the world outliner on the left, or right, upper right. I'm going to make another destructible mesh, so for those of you who want to watch and follow along, it's the same process that we just did, but I'm going to make one for these rocks here, because it'd be really cool to have rocks like crumbling, coming off of a cliff or something like that. So I have this great rock asset that I love, so it comes with Unreal. I'm going to select it, go to the details panel here, there's a magnifying glass, click that brings it up in content browser, right? Here's I have SM Rock. I'm right clicking SM Rock. I hit create destructible mesh, takes me to the editor we're just in. It's going to take a second for the material to compile. In the meantime, I can hit fracture mesh in the left, upper left, and it's going to fracture into 25 pieces. Great, I can preview its fracturing with the explode amount, and now I can see that. And that looks really great. Just watching a rock break apart looks awesome. I want to check enable impact damage. All right, I hit check, great. Then I hit save. Now I'm going to go back to the front of Unreal, and I have this other mesh. What's that? Hey, somebody help me out. When I get these late passes and stuff, do we mark it tardy, right? Unless it's after 30 minutes? Okay. minutes is a bit. It's usually going to be marked absent, but are you Daniel? Just, say your name here, and then just write tardy.
Yes. Daniel. Nice day.
What?
It's not like you're the
So you can't do any of this unless you're in the place. You can't do it now.
Daniel, come here.
My computer doesn't know. I need more than one.
Oh, so it could have frozen. You have to restart. Sure. Give it a second. If not, what you can do is you can click the desktop right here, and then click the Apple icon now. The Apple icon. Nope, now you click the desktop. So just click the Apple. See it says force quit. Click force quit. And then you can always, and then you can click that, and then that'll quit it though. So yeah, so if you it's gonna quit Unreal. I'm saying that will make it so that it'll force, but you'll have to restart it. So that'll do that. Yep. Alright. So moving on, I'm going to continue making my boulders, just kind of review what we're doing. So I already broke my boulder. I can move it to my world now. I move it right there. I drag it up. The last thing I do is make sure it falls. So I go into physics. I just check simulate physics. I hit play. Let's see if it cracks. Oh, it looks so good. That looks great. Look at this. It's really cool. And not a difficult system to make. Now, so far, guys, we've been using static meshes that come in the engine. But remember, I showed you how to make your own static meshes. For example, I have this television set. Remember these televisions we made like a couple weeks ago? I showed you how to model in this class, right? No? All right. New lesson. All right, everybody, make sure you're in the front of Unreal. I'm going to show you something really cool. So everybody in the front of Unreal, okay? So get out of landscape mode, get out of destructible mesh. Yeah, questions?
I'm not there. I'm not sure how.
Really?
I looked to the camera.
All right. So I'm going to come back because there's a couple questions. Get ready because we're going to learn how to model in a second. It's not hard. It's my secret method for modeling in Unreal, and it's faster than anywhere else. Faster than Maya, Blender, which everybody likes to brag about how great it is. It's better than what? Okay, that was good. Okay, let's, oh yeah, that's really weird.
Don't worry about the giant shadow.
I would Google that. I don't know what you did. I don't know if you can Control Z editor stuff, though, but you're good. Yeah. I don't know, but just choose whatever project you want to make the structural meshes on. All right, I saw some hands back here. We good? Questions? Sure. Sure. All right. You do a question? Good. Okay. All right. Okay. Let's show you how to make a model. So you'd think that this television set would take like a long time. This television set, once you know what the process, takes about 30 seconds to make. How do you do that? So go ahead and listen up, guys. Listen up. So this system for modeling is a very different approach than most modeling systems. Usually when you model for game development, you take geometry and vertices and you mold it kind of like clay, and you start with these primitives, right? What I like to do is I like to take existing props and then combine those and then save those all as one static mesh so that we're never starting from scratch. Now, we don't have a lot of props to work with, but we do have some in our starter content. So what we're going to be doing is combining these static meshes into something new. So in your content browser, the bottom area, the content browser, I want you to go to a folder called props. It's in starter content, and then it's called props. Okay. Yeah, it's in starter content and then props. And in props, go ahead and there's something called SM corner frame. It's sort of toward the top there. And it's a good like box for a television, right? So I'm going to drag that out. I'm going to drag that out. SM corner frame. It's in the props folder. It's like 4 in there. Okay. And all right. Well, you know what, guys? If you can't find it, let me continue with it with the lesson, and then you can try and combine it afterwards. Okay. So I'm gonna make this a little bigger. Okay. I'm gonna rotate it one way, so it kind of looks like the box of a television set. I go in here. I'll see. Well, what else do I have? I have this glass window thing. Oh, I also have this thing called door frame. So I'm gonna drag door frame into it. I'm gonna squeeze door frame, make it thinner in one area. I'm gonna make it. Listen up, guys. I'm using the scale tool, okay? But guys, listen up, and then we can go over afterwards. So I'm making this little frame around it. I squeezed it. I make it smaller. Now it looks sort of like the front of a television. I have this thing called SM glass window. I'm gonna drag this because it's glass out into the front. I'll make this smaller, smaller again. Move this into place. Put it sort of in the front there. So far, it's starting to look like a television. Let's say I want antennas on this, right? So what do I have that could be like antenna? Well, I have this thing called SM pillar frame, right? So I drag these pillars into here, and first they're humongous. And even if I scale it, it's not going to get small enough that they look like little antennas. So in the details panel for this, where it says scale, I'm going to change it from whatever it is at currently to like 0.1, 0.1, and then for the Z1, which is up and down, I want it to be a little bit taller, right? I want really skinny but tall. I'll maybe change it to like 0.25 or 0.15, and we'll see how that looks. And I'm happy with the way that looks. So then I move that over here into it. And I'm going to make it actually 0.05 on that, so that it really looks like a skinny kind of wire there. I'm happy with that. And then I'll rotate this the way an antenna would be rotated. And then I'll duplicate it, so I have the second antenna, and I'll rotate that the other way. And I'll put those in the middle. So you have a rotate tool in the upper right. But guys, do listen up. I'm going to go through this whole process, and then you can model your own stuff afterwards. So I know I'm going faster than you can follow along. Okay, that's okay, but I want you to see how the whole process works. So I happen to be making a television set. You can do this with any props. So I have this thing. It basically looks like a television set at this point. So once I'm happy with it, what I want to do is I want to put any materials on it that I want to have on it. So it actually looks okay now, but just to illustrate, I'm going to go to my materials folder, and I think I'm going to drag chrome onto this television set, because chrome looks pretty good. Big shiny television set. And maybe for the antennas, I'll drag on one of these copper material. I'll drag onto it. Right. Okay, so let's say I'm happy with that. Let's say I'm happy with that, and I want this to be my new 3D object, right? This is the important part everybody should pay attention to, so I don't want to hear any talking. Okay, so what I want to do to make this a new 3D object is I want to hold control and then click on everything that I want to combine. So I'm clicking on all the things that make my television look like a television. And if you accidentally click on something like, oh, I just accidentally clicked on the floor, just while holding control, click on that thing again, and it'll unclick, okay? Because sometimes you'll do things, you'll do all this, and you'll be like, why does my object look so funky? And like you will have clicked the sky accidentally, and you made a whole mesh that's humongous, right? That includes the sky with it or whatever, or includes the floor. So if you click on something like the floor, just while holding control, click it again. Hey, I'm talking. So once you have all these highlighted, what you want to do is right-click anywhere on the highlighted area, and in this new window that comes up, the bottom of it, you should have something that says Merge Actors. Merge Actors. You want to click Merge Actors, and then you don't have to touch any of these settings. They're fine as they are. And just in the right, it says Merge Actors. You click Merge Actors and ask you, what do you want to name it? I'm going to name mine SM_TV_005 because I have 4 other ones I made for other classes. So SM just for static mesh. It's a good way of naming things. And it's my TV. Hit save. Once you hit save, it'll take you in the content browser. You now have a television set or whatever 3D object that you made, and you can drag that out into your world. And you can see it's now one object. So you can do that with any combination of meshes. Yeah, question. So does anyone else not see the merge option? Some of your editors have it, some of you don't. So for you guys who don't have it, you have another option called create static mesh. So I'll do that. I'll do what you want. So I just highlighted everything, right, that I want to merge. Control, click, 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 click. Right click it. And if you don't have merge actors, you do have something called convert actors to static mesh. So you can click that. It's going to do basically the same thing. It's going to ask you what to save it as, what to name it, SM_TV. I'm going to name 0_06. Hit OK. Now I have another TV mesh. Okay. So try combining some things into something unique. You could get really creative. I could take these stairs, for example, and I can make a Mayan pyramid out of them, right? Not that hard. I could just duplicate it, rotate it, do that 4 times, make them meet in the middle, right click, merge actors, or create static mesh, and then I have a pyramid. So this is a super duper fast way of modeling. All right, I'm going to answer questions. That's going to be it for the formal lesson stuff unless something really important comes up. We'll do water and stuff another time. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and end it there. And I'll go around answering questions.